Hi guys, welcome to the Sunday slot. I've got a special guest today. I've got two special guests today. Fantastic, 2 for 1 today. We've got Sean Blake from the Untitled Chapter project, which is a fantastic organisation. We've also got Amy Bartlett, who's the development manager for Scotland for Nolan Foundation. So I'm going to bring Sean on just now. How are you, Sean, this morning?
Good morning, Jim. I'm doing fantastic. And yourself?
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, great day today. Good. It's nice and sunny.
not on my side of town. No, it's not.
I'm okay. This is
yeah.
I could change this to Hawaiian Beach if I want. And we've got Amy Bartlett from the Nolan Foundation. Good morning, Amy. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you.
Good morning, Amy.
How's everything where you are today?
A little bit snowy, a little bit windy, but all good. All good.
Yeah, you're in the East Nuke, aren't you, Sean?
I am. Yes, I am. It was snowing for about 5 minutes, and the boys got all suited up to go outside. And by the time they got suited up, it stopped snowing. So.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're on the coast, it tends to disappear anyway because of the salt air. As you go a wee bit further inland, it gets a lot better. What we used to do as well when it got really, really cold, we used to look for big puddles and it had frozen over in the fields, and they used to go ice skating.
Wow.
And so we used to just and the golf course as well. The golf courses as well. Big puddles used to freeze, and we just get our ice skates out and just go and skate on the puddles, which is fantastic. You've got less risk that you'll fall through.
Right.
You've only got that much to go.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So we're here today, Sean. I'm going to say good morning. Good morning, Anne-Marie. How are you? Thanks for watching. And if anybody else has got any questions about this, please feel free to ask us. We're going to talk initially, Sean, about the Untitled Chapter project. I mean, I'll be honest and say, what's all that about?
And that's a great question, and that's the biggest thing. I lost a good friend to leukemia, and like a lot of people that work for a cause, they've lost somebody special. And my story is sadly very similar to a lot of people out there. So I lost my best friend back in 1996. This is Doug and I on my patio. When Doug started chemotherapy, he lost all of his hair. So I shaved my head so he wouldn't feel like he was going through this alone. And so that's what this picture actually represents, is us both having bald heads. Sadly, we lost Doug about 4 or 5 months after this photograph was taken. Mm-hmm. So just so people understand how close Doug and I were, I called his mom and dad, and I called his dad as well too. So very close to his family. Even today, I'm still close to his family. His nephews and nieces refer to me as uncle.
Now, you've given me a collection of photographs to go through on a stage basis. So if you want to prompt me to go through that, the next one, then I'm happy to do that. But if you're happy, just let me take the lead, and you could talk to me about each photograph as we go. That's absolutely fantastic.
That works for me as well. So fast forward from 1996 to 2011, I was living in Abu Dhabi, and there was an article in the national newspaper about a young Arab girl that needed a matching donor. No one in her family was a match, and so they were reaching out to the general public looking for the perfect match. And what the article went on to say, you want to go to the next one?
When you say the perfect match, what do you mean by the perfect match? Perfect match for what?
Yeah, this is the kind of type of question that Amy would have to answer. Amy, can you help us out?
Of course I can. Yeah. So for a lot of blood cancer patients and patients with blood disorders, they will respond perfectly well to traditional treatments that you'd be familiar with, such as chemotherapy, radiotherapy, but for a proportion, they're not going to respond positively to those treatment types, and will be told that their best chance and often only chance of survival will be a stem cell transplant. And if somebody's told they need a stem cell transplant, it is generally last chance saloon, really. It's quite a grueling process to go through. but it can give patients the opportunity, that really important second chance of life. So to have a stem cell transplant, one needs to find a genetic match, a tissue match, and you've only got quite a small chance of finding a match from a family member. Generally,
this brings us back then to what Sean had actually found out about this Arab girl. You know, Sean, could you elaborate on that a bit more then?
Yeah, so of the what the article said in the national newspaper was of the 15.5 million registered donors worldwide, only 45 were from the Arab world. And so I was stunned when I read that number. I actually thought it was a typo. I thought 45, surely they meant 4,500 or 45,000.
Surely. I mean, but 45 people registered
45 people.
in the Arab world. That
It
doesn't
was
make sense.
It was stunning, exactly. So I reached out to my Emirati friends and I asked them, why is the registry, so low? Why is it only 45? They had no idea what I was talking about. And they explained to me the culture there, that in their culture, they don't publicly speak about anything negative. If you speak about the devil, then the devil's going to show up. That sort is the way that their culture works. So I put pen to paper to design a project that would reach the masses in a positive manner. So here's some stats that I pulled from the Anthony Nolan's website, and so I was shocked to also see that here in the UK, that only 2% are registered as stem cell donors.
That's quite a startling statistic. We'll come back to that as we go through, but I really want to ask more questions about that.
Yeah, here's another stat that's from the Anthony Nolan website. Every 14 minutes, someone is diagnosed with blood cancer. Over 2,000 people in the UK are in need of a bone marrow or stem cell transplant every year. 75% of UK patients won't find a matching donor in their family, so they turn to the Anthony Nolan Foundation to find a proper donor.
So this then begs me to ask the question then, what on earth is blood cancer? I've never heard about it, really. I mean, what is it?
Right. Again, that's something that I think Anthony Nolan Amy can explain much better than I can.
Yeah, well, I proved myself no medic and no scientist, but blood cancers and blood disorders are formed when, if you think about your body as a factory, as a blood producing factory, your immune system is there creating all your cells, your white blood cells, your red blood cells, your platelets. And if that processing in the factory breaks down, if you start producing too many cells, too few cells, that's when you start a diagnosis of blood cancer and blood disorders. And ultimately, it will affect one's immune system and their ability to fight even the most simple of disease and infection.
Okay, so when you talk about blood cancers, blood disorders, I mean, what sort of things are we talking about then?
Well, the most common, the one people will have heard of the most is leukemia, but even within that, there are multiple different types of leukemia. There's lots and lots of different acronyms, AML, CML, and all these conditions are different. They present differently, they cause different symptoms, and often will require different courses of treatment. But there are literally thousands of different types of blood disorders and blood cancers that people can suffer in various forms, and one condition won't be the same in two patients. There are variations of them based on one's chromosomes and DNA. So it's a really, really complex field, and there are many, many different types. I'm sure I'll never learn them all.
Yeah. So Sean's got the statistics saying 90% of donations take place via peripheral blood cell stem cells collection. So, Sean, what does that statistic mean to me as a layman?
The biggest hurdle that I've had to handle is when I ask people to register, they'll wince. They'll, I would do it for a close family member, but I've seen on movies and I've seen on television, they take it out with a corkscrew, is what they're thinking in their head, and that's very far from the truth. So there's a newer method. I mean, they might have done that method 20, 25 years ago, but there's a newer method called PBSC, peripheral blood stem cell. And you sit down, they take blood from one arm, it goes into a machine, it spins off what they need, and the blood goes back into your other arm. And you basically sit there for a couple of hours and save someone's life. It's that simple.
So this is the stem cell thing where you've got, I mean, you're absolutely right, because I still had this archaic image, about
Sure.
the fact that stem cells would be, you'd have to get some operation, and it would be, you'd have to then be out of the game for the next 5 weeks because
Right.
you've had the operation. I mean, is that still true, or is that still going, or is, what does happen?
Yeah, I'll let Amy answer that number as well too.
Thanks, Sean. So as Sean's already very clearly explained, they're 90% of the time. So somebody will join the register. It's a simple process to sign yourself up. It's a cheek swab, which we just saw in a picture previously. From that, you can determine a person's tissue type. And they'll go on the register, and they will stay on the register until they're 61. There's only a really small chance, actually 1 in 800, that a person will ever be found to be a match for a patient. But if they are, there are 2 different ways of donating, but in 90% of cases, it is a simple outpatient procedure similar to giving blood that Sean just explained. Side effects are people can be left feeling a little bit tired and fluey for a few days, but the impact of what you can do, you can literally save somebody's life. In the second case, 10% of donations are a small operation, a procedure to remove bone marrow, and that's usually for our most vulnerable patients. And but even in itself, it's nowhere near as intrusive as people think. It's a very short procedure. It takes about half an hour. It's done under general anaesthetic, and the side effects are people most often relate it to being like having a hard workout at the gym. A little bit of lower backache for a couple of days, maybe need to take it easy, like duties at work for a few days. But once again, the impact of potentially saving somebody's life is just invaluable.
So the impact on your body then, I mean, does it take anything away from you, or does your body just replenish it?
Good question. So no, your body will replenish all the cells that are donated in a very short space of time. You're actually given injections in the run-up to donation, which are sort of a naturally occurring hormone that stimulates your body's production of stem cells. So it's already producing more than you would normally have by the time you go to donation. And then you donate the cells that are needed, and the body's a wonderful thing. No, you're not left deficient in any way over the next sort of couple of weeks, 3 weeks, unbeknownst to you in the background, your body will be reproducing everything it's donated in a very short space of time.
There's probably a common misconception, possibly, that because you do this, you'll be more vulnerable and susceptible to illnesses and anything that can happen. Is that a misconception, or is there some truth in that?
No, it's there are so many misconceptions about stem cell donation, and that's one of our main jobs as a charity, to try and educate people, dispel those myths. And we're not here to strong arm anybody or force anybody into making decisions that aren't right for them. But what we do want to do is enable people to make decisions based on the facts, not on the myths that they've heard. We work so closely with donors, and they are very well looked after, quite rightly so. They're treated like the lifesavers that they are, and we take a person's situation, medical condition, very, very seriously. We would never want to put anybody at risk. We're asking people to donate to a complete stranger, so we, quite frankly, the charity wouldn't still be in business if it was of harm to donors.
And we'll talk about more about that at the end and how we can go about doing that. Sean, could I bring you back to this then? So this is a simple kit that you would get, I take it, and you just take a swab and send it away.
That is correct. This is a swab kit. You basically just swab the inside of your cheek, put it back in the package, fill out a little bit of paperwork, and congratulations, you're on the registry. It's that simple.
Wow. It's almost like my over 50s kit I get sent by the government. But we'll not talk about that. You'll not get that when you're over 50. So let me bring you on to the Untitled Chair project then. Where did this start? What is this in front of me, and why is this here?
This is the camera that I'm using. I knew when I first began to design the project, in order for it to reach people, it had to be different. It had to stand out. And so at the time, everybody was shooting digital. So I decided to shoot the project with film. And this is a old school film camera with a instant film back on it. It shoots instant Polaroid film. Okay. And so this is the the project's broken up into several stages, and this is stage one. I had to create a ruckus of sorts. I had to create awareness for the project that I'm creating awareness for. So what I did was I took the camera and 50 pieces of film, and I walked around Abu Dhabi with the chair, and I photographed it in 50 different locations all over Abu Dhabi. There's no two that are the same. And so I took the concept, went on Pinterest, and I think it's still up on Pinterest actually. And I asked for the first 50 people that become a fan of the project on Facebook that I'll send you one of these for free. And so I had people from all over the world reach out to me. They emailed me asking me for a Polaroid. And so I sent them out. I wrote on the back of each one, I wrote the longitude and latitude on the back. So they can go to Google Maps and they can see exactly where their Polaroid was taken. And also I wrote a note on the back of each one to, whenever you receive your Polaroid, take a photograph of it and post it on Facebook. And here are a couple of photos that were shared on Facebook. These are available to see as well, too, if you go to the project on Facebook. So they ended up all over the world. There's some in Germany, California, Cork, Ireland. The one in Cork, Ireland looks a lot like Anstruther, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like the Shore Street in Anstruther.
It does. It really does.
I was actually looking out for the world famous chippy.
Yeah, it does. It looks just like Anstruther.
And I was told, where is it?
Yeah.
So, just remind us then. So the Untitled Chair project, I mean, this was to raise awareness then of blood cancers and blood disorders. And this is how it's all come about. And it's because there was so little people registered from Arab nations on the actual register itself worldwide. I mean, that's remarkable. We'll take a wee look through some of the other photographs. Okay. So what have we got here?
There's one in Denver. That one's Paderborn, Germany, Moscow. And you can see each Polaroid. If you take a close look, you can see that there are no two that are the same. They're all different.
Yeah.
The lady, the one that went to Paderborn, Germany, I took a photograph of the chair in front of a mosque. And so she took her Polaroid and photographed it in front of the local church in Paderborn, Germany. And I thought that was really, really a neat idea for her to do.
Wow. And what's this one here?
So this is the next stage of the project. Was actually photographing participants with it. This is Nadine Canso. I met her when I was working for Associated Press at the Abu Dhabi Film Festival. She was putting, she's a jewelry designer and an artist, and she was putting jewelry on the celebrities. And so we became fast friends, and she heard about the project and she wanted to participate. And so thanks to Nadine Canso, I was able to jumpstart the project basically and get people on board. So this is the way it works. So I do 10 shots with the participants. Of the 10 shots, the participant gets to pick their favorite one, and the remaining 9 stay with the project to continue to raise awareness.
Good.
Yep. That's the one that Nadine kept, and that's her Polaroid that went on with her. That's in her home now. So after I photographed people with the chair, I asked them to sign the chair, and signing the chair represents a commitment to share the project and cause with friends and family. So when I photograph one person, they share it with anywhere from 50 to 2,000 people at a time. And that's how the awareness grows.
How does the chair get to them then? Do you actually post it out to them, or do you meet them, or what?
I typically let the participant pick the location, pick the time, and I will show up with the chair. The chair is from a tiny Swedish furniture manufacturer, and it comes with a little tool where I can take it apart and put it in a suitcase and take it around the world with me.
Does that start with an I by any chance, that furniture?
It does, yes. You might have heard of it, yes. That's the place.
I wouldn't say they were exactly tiny.
No, they're not at all.
This one.
Yeah, this is a spectacular one. This is Nihal. I met her in I've got a really lovely story how I met her. I was at my children's visas had expired, and I had to go to get their visas renewed at the immigration office in Abu Dhabi. Well, they had fined me about 1,000, close to about 1,000 pounds. It's like 3,300 dirhams. And you're not allowed to leave the premises until the fine is paid. and they only accept cash. Of course, I don't have £1,000 cash on me, right? So I'm going through my phone trying to find somebody to come get my credit card, because if you don't pay the fine by the end of the day, you're going to go to jail. So I was trying to find somebody. Yeah. So I was trying to find somebody. I was going through my phone, calling people, a bit frantic, to come and get my credit card and my debit card, pull some cash out and pay for the fine. So while I was in the area, the common area, she was sitting behind me. She tapped me on the shoulder and she said, "I don't want you to go to jail. I just spoke to my husband. We would like to pay for your fine."
Wow.
And so I was just, it's very, very kind. She was covered in her abaya, just like she is here. And so I thanked her. It was so kind and so generous of her for her to as a total stranger, to offer to pay for my fine. So a friend showed up, got the cash out, got it all sorted, and that was the end of it. Went on about my day. About 2 weeks later, there was the Abu Dhabi Australian Day Festival at one of the local hotels. And she walks up to me in blue jeans and t-shirt, carrying a beer in her hand. And she said, "Do you remember me?" And of course, I didn't recognize her at all. And so she said, "I was the one that offered to pay for your fine." And so I became friends with her and her husband and her children right then and there. We became fast friends. And so she heard about the project. And so she wanted to participate. And I let her pick her favorite place. And she picked the Sheikh Zayed Mosque in Abu Dhabi, which is a breathtakingly beautiful place.
It's amazing.
Yep, that's my story with Niham. So this is Juan. She's from Malaysia. So my story with these guys, it was Juan and three of her other friends had wanted to visit Dubai, and they Googled fun artsy things to do in Dubai. The chair project came up in an article in Time Out Dubai, and so they read the article. They thought it would be fun and interesting to participate. So they emailed me and asked me if they could participate. I said, absolutely. So whenever they flew into town, I picked them up from the hotel and we drove around Dubai in different places, I let them pick wherever they want to take photographs. And this is one of the locations.
So where did they put this in order to create awareness for blood cancers and blood disorders then? Do they put it onto their pages and social media platforms?
Exactly. That's exactly what I didn't know, is that one of these guys' moms is a famous vegan blogger in Malaysia. So they took this experience, went back and shared it on her blog, and it reached another 20,000 people.
Perfect. And that just gets more and more people aware of the cause.
Correct. This is Nora. She's from Poland. She was fun to photograph. So when I photograph people, I don't give them any direction. You can do whatever you want to with the chair. You can stand on the chair, dance around the chair, whatever your little heart desires, you can do with the chair. The only thing that I ask is that participants not look at the camera. Anything else goes.
What's that in the background? Is that
That's a fountain, actually.
I thought that.
That's got it. There's a fence.
Curiosity. Is that umbrellas or is that fountains?
Yeah, that's a fountain. Yeah, that was a park in Abu Dhabi.
Wow.
This is Kevin Peterson. This is a friend of mine. I've been friends with Kevin for about probably 15, 20 years now. Kevin is a hyper-realistic painter. He's an artist based in Houston, Texas, and in California. Are you familiar with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, the band?
Yep.
His artwork was chosen for the last album. So if you take a look at their last album that they came out with, one of the band members had walked into one of the art studios where his work is hanging and said that this is it. This is our next album cover. And so they reached out to him, and that's how his work ended up on the cover.
That's amazing, because that's bound to get some exposure then for your project.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. And this is Kevin's signature on the chair. It looks like an artist. It looks like an artist's signature as well too.
So who is this then?
This is Sarita. She's from Sri Lanka, and she's pretending to pick a flower with the chair. And this is a park in Abu Dhabi as well too. She was really fun to work with as well too. Again, I don't give anybody any direction. You can do whatever you want to with the chair. And I thought that this was really lovely what she did.
So when you say you turn up in order to give this chair, I'm thinking, do you get on a plane then fly to the other end of the world to get them to to hold a chair, and then you get on a plane and fly all the way back.
Nope. I just take the chair wherever I'm going in the moment.
Okay.
Is actually the way it works. Not the time I was living in Abu Dhabi. And something interesting started happening as I'm photographing people. Initially I was just going to work on the project for 30 days, photograph some people in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, Ras Al Khaimah, kind of wrap up the project and be done. And so I'm photographing participants from all over the world, and something really interesting started happening. They were sharing it with their friends and family back home. And so it became an international project. So people will jump on board from Sri Lanka and from Germany, from Ireland, from all over the world. And so, again, I was only going to work on it for about 30 days. And here we are, 10 years later? So working on the project.
Levitating?
Pardon me? Yeah.
Someone levitating on their chair.
This is Chef Gaurav. This is a buddy of mine that I met. As a professional photographer, I photograph food. And he's one of the chefs from one of the hotels in Abu Dhabi. I'm forever grateful. He introduced me to naan bread. So we became fast friends after he fed me. I had never tried naan bread until I met Chef Gaurav. But
wow.
He heard about the project and he wanted to participate in the project, and he shared it with a lot of his friends in India as well too. A lot of people jumped on board. This is Ian. He's from the UK. This was shot in Abu Dhabi. We had a really fun day that day, hanging out on the beach and just having a good time. He's actually an English instructor in Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. This is Valentina. Yeah, this is Valentina. She is from Italy.
Now, you're not kidding when you say it's up to you where you want to take the photograph and where you want to take the chair.
It's very, and that's, all the images look very diverse. They look very, very different. And that's one of the things that help it stand out as well, too. This is Gabby. This was an interesting day. I didn't know Gabby at the time. A mutual friend of hers had participated in the project, and she had heard about it, and she wanted to participate. And again, I let people pick their location. So Gabby picked this bridge in Houston, Texas. I was in town visiting actually, and she picked this location. So I went to her house, picked her up, went to the site, and I'm photographing her. As I'm photographing, tears are streaming down her face. She was crying. And so I didn't want to interfere with the photo shoot. So I just kind of kept photographing her. And we wrapped it up in about 15, 20 minutes. We got back in the car and I asked her, I was like, if you don't mind me asking, why are you so upset? She said, my mom passed away from cancer a few months ago. And This is where I went to release balloons to remember her. And so that's why she was so upset. And if you go to the next photo.
So basically in this photograph, that's her in an emotional state. You know,
she's tears are streaming down her face. That part you cannot see. Yes.
Wow.
And so she signed it, Gabby loves you. And I never asked her exactly what she meant by that. I've always left it open to interpretation. Mm-hmm. This is a good friend of mine, Micah the artist in Houston, Texas. This is Brianna in Houston, Texas. Yep. Wow. I love my story with Brianna as well, too. Yeah, that's her signature.
The warrior princess sat here before.
Yes.
Bridget, what's it? Bridge Donkey?
No, Bree Donkey. I guess that's what her family calls her, Bree Donkey. We'll have to ask her. So this is some of the publications and some of the places that the chair has been. I was a participant at the GPP Golf Photo Slide Fest in Dubai. I was asked to come on stage and share the project, just like I'm doing right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something they do every year in Dubai. If you look closely, top right-hand side, you can see the chair, and you can see my big head in the chair, actually, right before I went on stage. Yeah. Yep. I did a TEDx talk at Manipul University. I was invited there to do a talk as well.
So how did you get invited on to do a TEDx talk? How does that come about? Because you see a lot of people actually get invited to do TEDx. Well, not a lot, but a select few people actually get invited to do TEDx talks. So Is it somebody approaches you from somewhere within TEDx, or
somebody from Manipul University I think they were at the Gulf Photo Slide Fest and saw the presentation there, and they reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. It was a great opportunity to stand up in front of these brilliant minds at the university. It was really an honor to stand there in front of these clever kids.
And again, all this is creating awareness for blood disorders and blood cancer. Now,
Correct.
Anthony Nolan Foundation, though, Amy, is Anthony Nolan Foundation, am I right in saying it's UK based?
Anthony Nolan are a UK charity. Yeah.
So does it go anywhere else outside of the UK, or does it just concentrate in UK?
Yes, so Anthony Nolan was the world's first unrelated stem cell donor register, set up back in the 1970s, but now most developed countries have a register, and we function as part of an international network of registries. So if we can't find a match for a patient in the UK, we will always prioritise finding a UK donor for a UK patient, but where that can't be done, we can look internationally.
Okay, so this, Sean, the final, is this one of the final slides?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, this is my son holding the Time Out in Dubai article. And
so how long ago was this then? Just out of curiosity. So how old's your son now?
This was about 10 years ago. So yeah. He's 12 now.
Should get him holding another article.
You're right. I should. Yeah. Yeah.
And then finally back to the chair. So this is how it's dismantled, basically.
That's it. That's exactly how it comes apart, and able to package it up and put it in a suitcase. It's got its own personal suitcase as well too.
Yeah. So are you in the East Nuke only then for a certain amount of time then, and then you're moving on somewhere else, or?
This is as far as this is home for us. My children attend local weight academy, so this is definitely home for us. So what I'm interested in doing now is taking the project.
Did I say welcome to God's country?
You know what? It's so beautiful here. I tell my friends back in the States that it's like a living a postcard. It's really, really beautiful here. So yeah, so the next stage of the project is taking the project on the road. Do you still have the motorcycle slides? Do you still have that?
I'll dig something out for you. I'll see if I can find it.
Okay. So yeah, so the next stage of the project is taking it on the road and continuing to raise awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested in continuing to raise awareness here in the UK, and I'm interested in taking it on through Europe as well too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll have to bear with me because I didn't manage to get all the slides out.
Oh, sorry.
It was a bit of a challenge. We might not be able to get that because of technical issues.
Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. If anyone has any questions,
you want to take it on the road. So where would that take you then to?
Yeah, I just want to take it on tour through Europe and continue to photograph people, do donor drives along the way, and continue to raise awareness.
But you'll have more information on your blog that we've got on this post, haven't you?
I do.
So you've got your Facebook page on this post, and you've got your blog on this post, and people can follow you and actually find out everything that's going on, can't they?
Correct. Instagram as well too, if anybody wants to follow along.
Do you have an Instagram name, or is it It's
the Untitled Chair Project.
Right. Okay. So they're just in the Untitled Chair Project is Instagram name.
That's
perfect. That's fantastic. I could probably put that up later on as well. Could we talk about a wee bit more about the Anthony Nolan Trust then, and where we're going with this then? Amy, could I just share with you the website itself, and we'll have a quick look at this and go through.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. So the Anthony Nolan Trust. Here's the website here. Now I always remember it as the Trust because I always keep remembering the Trust.
We rebranded. We just we have Anthony Nolan now, just Anthony Nolan. So Anthony was a little boy back in the 70s, diagnosed with a rare blood disorder and told he needed a transplant. Sadly, was not able to find a match. He was an only child, didn't have a sibling that could be a match, and there were no unrelated donors at that time. So this is his mom, Shirley. I love this photo. And sadly, Anthony passed away at the age of 8, but Shirley Nolan spent the rest of her life campaigning to ensure that there would be an unrelated match for patients like Anthony. in the
I
future?
remember this. I mean, in 1974 when it began, but I remember this at the time where it was all spoken about. And yet I must have been 7 or 8 years old. But I still remember this getting talked about at that time. And I've always remembered it since then. Hence the reason why I said to you in the beginning, I always remember it as the Anthony Nolan Trust. And the rebrand's gone through that. So it began in 1974 and it was Shirley. So, and it was at that time you were saying, yeah, absolutely. First registered to March donors with people in desperate need. There was nothing available at that time then.
No, I mean, it was very, very new, the concept of unrelated matching. And it wasn't long after this that the first unrelated transplant went ahead, but it was still very, very difficult to find matches. So it's just incredible what has been achieved over the last 4 decades, and things are improving for patients all the time. As I had mentioned before, Anthony Nolan now have over 800,000 people on their register, but we're part of an incredible international network, and the international donor community now sits somewhere in the tens of millions to allow us to find matches. Sadly,
800,000 in the whole of Britain, which has 66 million people.
Yeah.
That doesn't take a genius to do that statistic. That's roughly 2%.
That's the stat that we use, but it's more important for us that we get the right people on the register than we get everybody on the register. So after a lot of what Anthony Nolan do, we have the Anthony Nolan Research Institute, and the world leading in terms of identifying what makes the best possible match for patients and what will provide patients with the best long-term survival outcomes. And we've learned a lot, and we continue to learn about that. But we know that younger people provide the best possible chance for patients. So at Anthony Nolan, we recruit just 16 to 30-year-olds. And that's, as I say, because we know young people, because their stem cells have been exposed to less age-related disease, they're less likely to have to defer or delay or cancel donation due to age-related disease. That's where we focus.
I always say it's because older people have had a harder paper round.
Well, I will include myself in that. But yeah, it's really important. And the other, Sean has beautifully illustrated for us the issue we have about the inequalities that exist for patients. You're much less likely to find the perfect match if you are from minority ethnic background. So we've got a job to grow, but as importantly, to diversify the register.
Why do you think it's so low, though? I mean, 800,000 is not a lot of people. Is it the fact that we just can't get the message out enough, or is it because what I'm gobsmacked about is 1974, Shirley had to do something about this. Yet, did no one do anything about this before?
That was the start. That was the start of the unrelated donor register, and so the growth has been phenomenal. But I absolutely see what you're saying. It looks like such a small number of people that are on the register. It is growing all the time. We put a lot of effort into education. As I've just said, we work with young people. So we work in schools and across Scotland. We have a fabulous partnership with the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, who do so much on our behalf and are really, really active in Fife as well, working in schools, educating young people, inspiring them and encouraging them to get on board and to make a difference. So we're getting there slowly.
So when somebody joins the register, obviously preferably a younger person, they join the register, what happens to them after that when they join the register? They get sent out the park, I take it, with a swab.
Yeah. So pre-COVID times, we'd be in schools, we'd be out in communities, we would host events, and hopefully we will do again in the not too distant future. At the moment, somebody can go online to our website, Anthony Nolan website, put their details in, fill out an application. This will be the site that they'll land on. They'll fill out an application form that will ask some personal questions, contact details, and some medical questions as well to ensure that people will be safe to sign up to donate. And then they get their swab kit sent out to their home address, which they do and return in a prepaid envelope. And there'll be tissue types. in our labs. Those swabs will be used to determine a person's tissue type. They will then go on the register and stay on until they're 61. So we only recruit between 16 and 30, but everybody stays on the register until they're 61. And it's really, as I said before, it's really important we get the right people on, because it costs us £40 to tissue type each individual. And you know, fundraising is a huge part of what we do to ensure we can get those lifesavers typed and on the register. And then they will essentially sit there. They might hear from us every so often, asking people to update their details, which is incredible. Any of your listeners that think, oh, I'm on the register, they probably haven't got my right address. It's so important that we know where you are and that we'll be able to contact you if you were found to be a match.
What's happening here then? What's this? What's happening here?
So this young man is mid-donation, peripheral blood stem cell donation. As you can see, it's not looking any the worse for wear for it. So this is a patient's experience in 90% of the cases, as we talked about earlier. If you are found to be a match, you'll be contacted, told you're a potential match. There'll then be some medical testing to ensure that it's safe for you and for the patient. And then you'll be asked to travel to one of the clinics where donation happens. We pay for and organise everything. And donors are very well looked after in the clinics. And this young man here is donating. He'll have a needle in one arm that it will extract the blood. As Sean explained earlier, that will then be spun so we can get the stem cells from that, and the blood products are returned to the donor in the other arm. It's a fairly lengthy process. He's probably been sat there for maybe 4 hours. Pre-COVID times, you would have a companion with you, so you pay for somebody to go with you as well, to keep you company. And then assuming that enough cells have been collected in the one sitting, people are free to go and get on with their lives.
So effectively, it's just like a longer version of giving blood.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I described before, side effects are, people say that they can feel pretty tired for a while afterwards. But the thought of having saved somebody's life is...
I was away to say, I mean, what's a bit of tiredness to the fact that you've actually could have saved somebody's life? Oh my goodness. If you're under 30 and you're watching this, please register on this register. It doesn't take any time at all, and you could register. You can go through here. It says here, how do I register? Should I join the register? Who can join the register? What does joining the register involved? Are you a match, and what happens next? You've donated, what happens next? For frequently answered questions, medical exclusions criteria, it's got every single answer here. If you're a person under 30 years old, just take the leap. Just go and do it. You know, at the worst case scenario, you could always say no later on.
We do ask that, because of the costs that I talked about, the £40 for tissue typing, and, you know, that's cumulatively when you think about large numbers of donors joining. It is really important to us that at the point of joining up, people are committed.
Understand, absolutely.
That they be prepared, not only for the cost, it's the financial implication, but also implication for patients and families. That if somebody was found to be a match and then wasn't prepared to go on and donate, you know, that person could know that there was a match out there. It's all anonymous, of course, but we think it would be better for patients, you know, not to be in that situation. So we do ask that people have a commitment, although you don't know what's going to happen 5-10 years down the line. We understand that.
From my point of view, if I was younger, if I was a lot younger now than I am, I've had a hard paper round, I would to think to myself, if I wasn't to do anything else in my life but do this and potentially save somebody's life, you know, for me, that would be everything.
And what, you know, it's so, we all jump to the picture of the patient, and we all think if it was our loved one, if it was our child, if it was our partner, and we'd want somebody to be out there for them. And of course we would. And I love working with patients and families, particularly when it's a successful outcome. But Jim, honestly, the life-changing difference it can make to a donor. I've worked with some young people who, you know, this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about your academic achievements. It doesn't matter about your social status. It doesn't matter whether you've got the best iPhone on the market. most people can do this. And some young donors that I've worked with have had their lives changed by this opportunity, you know, to think that, and the value they can place on themselves and that others place on them, knowing that they've done this incredibly generous thing for somebody else is pretty powerful. It really is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a huge amount of information on here, which gives you an in-depth look into what actually happens. You know, so it's, you know, for anybody watching, they could do a lot of research beforehand and actually find out what it's all about without actually even speaking to anybody. Yeah,
they could indeed, but we're always there to answer any questions. And I'd also recommend, if anybody loves a good cry into their hanky of a Sunday afternoon, with the Anthony Nolan account on YouTube, we have some videos. Sorry, doorbell, spaniel going crazy. And there are some beautiful stories of it's anonymous. There's 2 years anonymity between for donors and recipients, but after that period, if both parties wish, they can meet up. And there's some wonderful, wonderful video stories of donors and recipients meeting up. And yeah, I mean, you can just imagine how emotional that is to meet the person.
Yeah, I get emotional every single time I watch those videos. They're just so, I mean, they're so amazing to see these people meet, and you see all the emotions coming from both parties. Both parties, you know, there's not a dry eye in the building at all. Yeah, they're really great videos. I would urge people to watch them as well too.
Career highlight for me, I was able to be at a donor recipient meetup up in Aberdeenshire a few years ago. The recipient was a little boy who'd had his life saved by a young man from the borders of Scotland. He travelled up to meet the family, and it was just the most wonderful moment. But the young man, as is the way with a lot of our donors, are quite frankly too humble. They can't grasp just the impact, because for them, as you said, it's a bit of time. You feel like that's all you're given. Almost, you know, donors say it feels like they don't deserve the credit that they get, because it can be so easy. And I think until they get that insight of the impact that they've had in their lives, because it's not just the patient's life. If you think about your lives, you know, something happened to you, and all the people that would be affected by that, children, partners, parents, families, you know, it's that ripple effect.
I would welcome a lie down in a bed for 4 hours. That'd just be a complete rest.
Yeah.
To have peace and quiet, nothing happening, and to say you've got to sit there for 4 hours in that bed and do nothing and just switch off from the world. I would welcome that.
But I mean, with this picture up, it reminds me to say that young men are a particular target audience of ours.
Yeah.
Young men only make up about 16% of the register, of the Anthony Nolan register at the moment. But they go on to make up over 50% of donations. A young man will always be prioritised by clinicians at transplant centres, because for a variety of reasons, including the fact that over their lifetime they'll be more available. Women can't donate during pregnancy, and there is evidence to show that young men provide better long-term outcomes for patients. So we really need to encourage more young men to come forward and join the register, because they're much more likely to go on and donate.
Yeah, that's what it talks about, is stem cell donation painful. It talks about all these things. Is bone marrow donation painful? So you've got all these questions, you know, answered for you, basically, you know, without the need to really speak to anybody to begin with. But if you need further information, then there's contact details on the website as well. You know, how to contact you and who to speak to. I take it you could probably do that remotely. You could speak to someone.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, we have a donor support team who are there to answer any questions. So anytime, if anybody has anything, but there's so many videos, and I always feel like it's almost a little bit disingenuous for me to explain the process and talk about what the side effects are. I've not done it. I'd love the opportunity to, but as yet, I've never been chosen as a match. But we have video footage from lots of donors talking about their experiences, you know, people that have been through it. And hopefully that's really helpful to people.
And you've got other ones like how do your own fundraising. So you've got opportunities for people to do fundraising. You've got opportunities for people to take part in any event. There's opportunities, obviously, for people to actually donate as well, and give to the Nolan Foundation. And you know, there's loads of opportunities for volunteering as well.
Yeah.
So there's loads of things for anybody. So anybody from any age group ultimately could really get involved in this, couldn't it?
Correct.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can. You might only be able to join the register between 16 and 30, but there's so many different ways you can help. As you highlight, you know, fundraising is such an important part of what we do, but everything starts with a conversation, and that's why we're so grateful to people like Sean who go around having that conversation for us on our behalf in such a creative and inspiring way, because people either don't know about it, or if they do know about it, they've succumbed to the myths that they've heard about it.
The reality is, if it wasn't for Sean, actually, we wouldn't be talking now.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, and it's just that simple thing I saw on one of the Eastnook chat pages that I thought, wow, that's intriguing, and it caught my attention straight away. But it's the way you had done it, Sean. It's the way you had emphasised it, and I know you talked about it, and you showed me the picture of you with the motorcycle, and the motorcycle is going to be absolutely fantastic. But it's got to be something that stands out. It can't just be a normal, basic motorcycle. It's got to be a big, all-encompassing. It's got to be something that stands out, and people see, and therefore they then go, well, what's that? What's that all about?
It creates a curiosity. Yeah. It creates a curiosity. With curiosity comes questions, and with questions come answers, and that's exactly the way it works.
Yeah. So you could talk a bit more then about what your next steps are for the Untitled Chair project.
Yeah, the next step is taking the project on the road, and the concept is doing it via motorcycle with a sidecar. And I think that having the chair in the sidecar and going through the UK, continuing to photograph people, and hopefully going through Europe and photograph people as well too. Doing it with a motorcycle with a sidecar, I think makes it approachable. I think it makes it photo worthy, and if people take photographs of it, the first thing they're going to do is share that. And with that, the Untitled Chair project motorcycle, then people will share that. And what is this about? That creates curiosity and makes it fun to share. It makes it approachable as well too. Makes it easy to walk up to somebody with a motorcycle and sidecar with a chair and then go, okay, what is this about? With questions come answers.
Absolutely. I'm just looking at some of these now, and I'm going to see if I can get something up on the screen for you.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, give me 2 seconds. I'll just share that.
Okay.
If I can jump back to my post. I should have something in front of me in a minute. So this is actually quite good. And we have got Chrome tabs. Is this the motorcycle here?
That's the concept. Yeah. So motorcycle with a sidecar. I think that this would be a fun way to be able to reach people.
Absolutely, yeah. And then what you're going to do as well out of that next, you're going to have that branded, I take it, yeah?
Correct. Yes. I'm going to have it crowd sponsored. So for X amount of pounds, you can have your name put on the side of the sidecar, or have your best friend's name put on the side of the sidecar. Yep. There we go. That's it. That's concept. So have your name put on it somewhere to sponsor the project, and so I can film and fuel and feed myself along the journey.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. And everybody else, as I said, will find out more about that in your blogs and your vlogs, and where to go from there as well. You know, and you know, the final sort of thoughts on this. You know, I would never have known, as I said, about this, Sean, until you had actually highlighted that. That then led me to Amy, and then Amy's obviously come on from the Anthony Nolan and talked about it more. So I could only thank you, the two of you, so much for coming on and actually spending your time today and talking about that. You know, for yourself, Amy, what's your final thoughts on this, that you could give anybody advice?
It would be look into it. It would be get on our website, you know, see how you can support and what it is that you can do to further this incredible life-saving work. Tell the young people in your lives to look into it. You can follow us on our social media platforms and help us reach our target audience of young people, and particularly young men and young people from minority ethnic backgrounds.
And that's AnthonyNolan.org is the website itself. I've actually put that in the post as well, so everybody can click onto that. I take it you can get the social media pages from the website?
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent.
But really grateful grateful for the opportunity to talk more about it. So it's a conversation that needs having around more breakfast tables and dinner tables. So.
Yep.
Absolutely. Sean, final thoughts for yourself, what your next steps and what you could advise anybody else to do?
I just wanted to, encourage people to become informed and research and become educated with the process and urge people to register. It's simple and it's painless, and you could save a life.
Perfect. That's absolutely fantastic. Guys, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jim. Really thank you, Amy.
Fantastic. For anybody that's watching, you can actually listen to the podcast later on. I will post it on our social media platforms for the podcast, so you can actually listen to that in your own time. You could rewatch this. If you've still got any questions, please feel free to actually message in here in these posts, because we will be able to answer them anyway and pick them up and get them on.
I'll make myself available. I'll make myself available as well, too.
Okay, guys, next week I've got Natalie from Dance and Sing. Natalie is going to be talking about how she's taking dance and singing to the care homes and to people with Alzheimer's and dementia, and actually helping them actually have quality of life more than anything. So that's going to be our next week's Sunday slot. But once again, guys, thank you very much for coming on the show, and thank you everybody else for watching. And see you later, guys. Until next week. See you later. Bye-bye.